I actually really hate goal setting. So this is what I do instead. In this video, I'm going to talk about an alternative way to set your goals and plan out your business for 2026. I've done all of the things that they tell you to do, which is read the books, set the goals, make sure they're smart goals, make sure you're then breaking it down into little steps every single day, blah, 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 blah. We've all read the personal development books. They all say the same thing, but do people really stick to it? If you're anything like me, you probably don't. And I've managed to build multiple 6 and 7 figure businesses over the years by not setting any goals, by simply just understanding what I need to do at a high level and then figuring out each day what is the most important one thing that I need to do today that is going to move the business forward. So in this video, I'm going to step you through my process of how I like to start out the year. And I'm going to give you an insight into some of the things that we're actually focusing on this year in business. So under my brand BigMoves AI, we focus on building AI automations for people. Now we're pivoting a little bit this year and we're focusing entirely on content creation and products that allow us to create content so much faster using AI. So we have products coming out this year like creating character reels, creating carousels, UGC content, and then those products built specifically for advertising. Now this will include some automations, but it will include predominantly the education and the strategy around how to do these things. Because where AI is moving to right now is we're actually building workflows that mimic what an employee would do. So rather than building software, which would do a tiny part of a workflow, we can now piece together so many different softwares into one existing workflow that then mimics what an employee does. That's what these products are going to do. They're going to take like an AI carousel, for example, where it comes up with the idea, it splits it into a script, it splits it into the words on the carousel. It then creates the images, it puts the words on top of the images, all of that completely done by AI. Now we currently do this manually ourselves internally, and it takes us maybe 20 to 40 minutes per post. Whereas once we have this product, it's going to take maybe 5 to 10 minutes per post. So these are the types of things that we can do with these AI tools. And that's what we're focusing on, is helping brands build these types of workflows into their business so that you too can scale effectively with AI. So I started here with the roadmap. Like these are the core things that we want to do. Now, even if we just get to 3 products, I'm totally okay with that, because with 3 products, we can still achieve our revenue goals. The main thing that we needed to focus on is actually content and driving new leads into the business. And that's what all of this here is for. So I'm not going to go too deep into this, but what I've been probably one of the best in the world at over the years is virtual summits. I've helped launch more than 50 virtual summits for my own brands and for clients, generated over 1 million email subscribers from those events, and generated millions of dollars in sales from low ticket offers, less than $150 from those events as well. We're going back to that strategy for the Big Moves brand, and we have a few other brands that we're working on as well, where now, instead of having a team of 10 people like we used to, and they would launch 1 summit a month, we can now have a team of 3 people and they can launch 1 summit a week if we want to scale up to that much. That's how much can be automated using these types of content systems and other internal systems that we have for the year. So again, to zoom out, the way that I plan this is, okay, I started with the 2026 roadmap. It's like, okay, we want to create these products. Why? Number 1, it's going to help ourselves, our own businesses grow. That's the first reason. Number 2 is that they're actually going to be really great products for everybody to use and people can adapt them to their own businesses. And then number 3 is it covers the main components of what we need to grow on social media, being reels, carousels, and then UGC content. So almost every brand can benefit from those things. That's where we started with this planning system. And then from there, I just simply figure out, okay, what needs to happen before this and what needs to happen after. So before this, we need to generate leads. So I originally started with our content strategy here, which was our YouTube strategy, our AI reels, and our AI images using the systems that we built. Obviously, YouTube's a little bit different. We're actually playing around with some different types of systems there. But I then started with the content system. I was like, okay, if we're going to create those products, we need to generate leads somehow. So this would be probably one of the better content strategies that we could implement. I added a few ideas here based on other videos. I've got our content framework that we can stick to. So our pillars being system, story, and stack. And then our AI carousels, some ideas around that. But then I asked myself again, like I didn't have any of this here. I was like, is that the best way that I know to generate leads? And it wasn't. And from that, we then decided to, okay, let's remap this summit system again, have a discussion as to whether we think it's actually going to be beneficial. And we've decided it is. So spoiler alert, we're going to be doing a bunch of AI summits this year and super excited for them. So that's how we're going to generate leads for the core roadmap or the core product roadmap for the year for ourselves. But that means that's not the only thing we need to do, right? So the other thing we need to do is we need to create those products. So then I started mapping out how do we create the character product? How do we create the carousels product and begin mapping those things out? We also have an agency over here, which we might combine into the content direction that we're going as well. But ultimately, I just began mapping out, okay, what's the inclusion in the offer? What is the offer itself? What are the deliverables that we need? What's some important notes that we have? And then how do we then structure this product inside the database? Generally, I'll structure things out inside the database first, or like an image of what the database should look like. And sometimes I'll do, what are the different fields that are required? Sometimes I'll leave that up to the team. But I'll map out what the database should look like and then provide a video to my team of what the automations should do. I'll generally write the prompts as well. And then we'll hand off these automations, these workflows to my team to start building the product. So for all of these things here, basically the part that I am mostly responsible for is figuring out how all of this fits into the business as a whole. Because what will generally happen is as you begin to hire more team members, they focus entirely on what they know. So your development team, they're only going to focus on how to make the product work and how it works in the most efficient way. But the marketing team also needs to have some input because there could be some features that you build into a product that allow the marketing team to actually have some unique angles in order to sell and market that product and get eyeballs on the product. So there needs to be some collaboration between the two, and it's up to you as a leader, at least in the beginning, or as you get more experience and have more money, you can hire leaders that make sure these teams cross-pollinate and come up with both the marketing angle and the product angle that is going to be the most beneficial for the business as a whole. So that's generally how you're playing this game as a business owner and as a leader. Now, one of the best things that I was taught over the years is that there's actually 4 levels to being a business owner, or to people inside of the business, which is you have your technicians, you have your managers, you have your leaders, and then you have your entrepreneur. Now, when people first get into business, they believe that they're an entrepreneur, but they're kind of not, because if you think about what is it that an entrepreneur does, an entrepreneur basically create and drive the strategy and provides capital. They don't really do too much else besides those 2 things. The people who are doing most of the work day to day that actually needs to be done in a business when it's getting started is at your technician level. So these are people like marketing specialists, sales reps. They are operational specialists. These are the people that are doing the legwork every single day to move the business forward. The challenge with technicians is that they generally don't have a whole bunch of skills outside of this one thing, which is great for a business, but not so great for these higher roles, which is like a leader. So a manager is somebody who manages the technician. They keep them on track. They make sure they're working to their KPIs. They make sure that the technicians know what the next steps are. The technicians, they don't really think about the strategy. And it's up to the manager and the leader to actually help with that. The leader of the business is the person that drives the culture. They drive the, like how much people work, the ability of people to adapt to changes. They drive the vision of the business. They represent the values of the company as well. So the challenge that we have when we're starting a business though, is that we kind of need to play all of these roles at some point during our day because we don't have money to invest in all of these team members immediately. So entrepreneur is basically what I've done here, which is I've spent a few hours mapping out what we need to work on this year, which is great, but that's not what's going to drive the business forward, right? We now need to then move into technician mode. And technician mode for me is going deep into figuring out how we can create these types of images. So here's an example, a really cool example that I found how we could do previously, which was we can now automate every single ad creative. And we now collecting a whole bunch of ad creatives online because we can replicate them so easily. So I took this image from AdWorld, and then I just grabbed my image plus a couple of experts who are on a summit with me recently. And then I combined it into this image here. And it's got it. I mean, we couldn't really design something that good with a designer. It didn't get our logo completely right, but we can fix that up easily. It took me quite a lot of prompting to understand that, but that's technician level, right? I was going deep into how do we turn this into this with these images. So that's technician work, is like understanding how we can actually do things in the business that drive it forward. Once you have a few technicians, then you need a manager to manage those technicians and to make sure that everybody's doing the right things at the right time for that business. Then once you have a few managers and technicians, then you need a leader, someone to drive that culture, which is fed down essentially by the entrepreneur's strategy through the start of the year and throughout the year. So that's like something that's really helped me understand how businesses work, how I should spend my time, and the most important things to achieving goals. Now, you obviously have to spend your time in all those layers in the beginning, like I said, but when you understand that concept, you can put on your entrepreneur hat, understand that, okay, now I'm working on the strategy, take that hat off, and then put on your technician hat and get deep into doing the work. So that's how I plan 2026. And for me, I know that maybe 50% of what I've planned there is going to change. Like as you start building, then you realize that, okay, this doesn't feel right. I'm not getting the right signals from the audience based on implementing this strategy. So we'll pivot a little bit. So this is never going to be 100% correct, but it at least gives us a starting point, a vision of where we need to go. And then we can adapt to that vision based on the feedback that we're getting from our audience and everybody else that is out there. So I hope this was an alternative way for you to understand how you can plan in multiple ways. And if you do want to dive deeper into AI, then make sure you watch this video next. See you there.